In our last episode, we checked out some amazing waterfalls and learned about some depressing history in Kanchanaburi, Thailand. This time around, we leave Thailand behind by taking a short flight from Bangkok to Siem Reap, Cambodia, and begin exploring the amazing and ancient archaeological ruins at Angkor Wat.
Made it to Cambodia.
Yeah.
It's actually the left side.
Welcome to Cambodia.
That would be weird.
Siem Reap is the gateway to the Angkor archaeological complex, and because of that, it would be our home base for a few days while we explored the region. Being that Angkor Wat is Southeast Asia's most visited tourist attraction, Siem Reap is set up to handle boatloads of tourists. With hotels, guest houses, and hostels, there's a place to stay for just about every budget. And of course, there's the never-ending sea of tuk-tuks waiting to take you anywhere you want to go for just a couple of bucks. And with a multitude of restaurants and nightlife, Siem Reap is a pretty easy place to spend some time. But for us, the nightlife was gonna have to wait, because the next morning, we were heading to Angkor Wat to watch the sun come up. Buying tickets. Angkor Wat today. We're actually here before the sun comes up. Even cows don't like to get up before the sun. After a quick stop for some necessary coffee, we made it to Angkor Wat just in time. Angkor Wat dates back to the early 12th century and was originally constructed as a Hindu temple dedicated to the god Vishnu for the Khmer Empire. The temple grounds measure over 400 acres, making it one of the world's largest religious monuments. It's enormous and it's incredible. Okay, today we're in Angkor Wat, which you probably already guessed, but this, for a lot of people, I think is a bucket list kind of place, me included, so I'm pretty excited to be here. But I think more than anything, it's impossible to capture the size and the scale of this place, and the detail. It's just incredible. One of the things I didn't realize actually before we came here was, first of all, how hot and sweaty I'd be all the time, but also that Angkor Wat is actually just one part of the big city of Angkor. I just thought it was one site, Angkor Wat, but it's just one temple that's part of the greater city of Angkor. And this place is huge. And yeah, I know I say it all the time, but this is one of the, well, I don't want to say one of the coolest places I've ever seen, but it could actually be the coolest place I've ever seen. And it's just a small part of it. We're going to be here for a few days, and we're going to do our best to see as much as we can. But just by judging from the size of this small structure in the greater city, and I shouldn't say small structure, but just this one structure in the greater city, it's going to be impossible to see it all in a few days. Heading into the temple not only gets you up close and personal with some incredible architecture, it puts you face to face with an amazing amount of detail that's carved into just about every square inch of stone. late 12th century, thanks to the changing times, Angkor Wat changed from a Hindu place of worship to Buddhism. But unlike the majority of the city of Angkor, this temple was never fully abandoned, making it an active place of worship for nearly 1,000 years.
Absolutely beautiful.
It's pretty amazing, huh?
Yeah. Each one of these little things is different.
And the view from the very top of the temple, well, it's not too shabby. After a few hours exploring the complex, and with throngs of people flooding in, we were off to see some other parts of the city. The city of Angkor was the capital of the Khmer Empire and flourished between the 9th and 15th centuries. And during its heyday, it's estimated that Angkor supported over 1 million residents, making it the largest city in the world at that time. After centuries of prosperity, Angkor was sacked by the Ayutthaya Empire in 1431, causing this enormous city to be abandoned. But left behind are over 1,000 structures and temples just begging to be explored.
Few things I can't quite wrap my head around. One is just the sheer size of this place. It's enormous. The other thing that I just can't get over too is the fact that we can just roam around and check this stuff out. It's free reign. It's really incredible. But also, I can't get over how much detail is in all this stuff. It seems like almost every little bit has got some sort of carving, and it's pretty intricate. And it's not like they're stamped or anything like that. Each carving is a little different. It's really incredible. The coolest place I've ever been. And look, there's Thad.
And this place even has swimming monkeys.
Oh, he's underwater swimming. Look at him.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Between the years of 900 and 1200 AD, the Khmer Empire produced some of the world's most magnificent architectural masterpieces. And because of the city's fall and major abandonment, most of these masterpieces would be left to their own demise and taken over by the surrounding forest. It wasn't until the early 1900s when French archaeologists began the long process of restoration, which would eventually put this place on a world stage and open it up to the masses. After a long and full day of exploring, the next morning we decided to skip the sunrise taxi, and we found ourselves a couple of these guys. For about 15 bucks, a tuk-tuk and a driver can be yours for the entire day, and they're happy to take you just about anywhere you want to go. So we got 2 of them. And of course, no trip in a tuk-tuk is complete without first picking up some sandwiches. Its main ingredient is pure fire.
That looks really good. Good.
In Cambodia, and at Angkor in particular, a tuk-tuk is the way to get around. With a nice breeze, an open view of the world going by, and all for just a couple of bucks, it can't be beat.
so many sights and ruins to see at Angkor, it can be pretty difficult to decide where to spend your time. But for me, one of my favorites was where we started our second day of exploring, the King's Palace. Today is day 2 here at Angkor. I cannot get over the size and scale of this place, and just a lot of the construction. These doorways. As a guy who spent my life working in construction, can't help but admire this stuff. Pretty amazing.
Are you going back this way or are you going that way?
This section here, it's kind of hard to pick up on this little camera, but coming through all these doorways, they get successively smaller as you go. So as you came into the King's Chambers, you had to actually bow coming through the doorway. Kind of interesting. Incredible.
How's it going?
Good, it's awesome. Telling you right now, the coolest place I've ever seen, ever. So the city here of Angkor is roughly 400 square kilometers. Just for size comparison, Manhattan is 60 square kilometers. That gives you any indication how big this place is. It is enormous. Just can't quite get over all of it. Angkor was not only complex in its architecture, it was also considered a hydraulic city, with an intricate system of reservoirs and canals to support its growing population, as well as irrigation to the surrounding farmlands and rice fields. With all there is to see at Angkor, a history or archaeology buff could spend a whole lot of time here. But for us, being that we had only a limited amount of time in Cambodia as a whole, and a whole lot more we wanted to see in the country, we spent just a quick few days of heat, sweating and stares before it was time to move on. Nice job.
I just hit my goal climbing the stairs.
Nice job, Ed. After a hard few days of exploring, every good boy deserves a little treat.
Life's choices. Ice cream or beer? I don't know if they go well together, but we're gonna give it a shot.
Mango. And just like that, we were out of there. And yes, just like sailboats, 2 tuk-tuks on the road equals a race. But that's about it for this episode. Thanks for watching, and join us next time as we head farther into Cambodia.